Hey everybody, it's Kristen. So this is going to be the videos for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because, well, I'm going to obviously split them up into two, but this week just kind of got away from me, so we're doing them now. um, oh, so it's super cold here, so I'm wearing my warmest jacket because I had to turn off the heat just for a little bit while I do these videos because, as I've discussed before, I don't know why, whether it's the heat or the air conditioner, whenever it turns on, it's super loud. It's a fairly new unit too, so I'm not sure why it's so loud, but if it's on while I'm filming, you literally cannot hear me. So, or it's a struggle to hear me. So, had to turn it off. So, we're going to try to make these short. I mean, like I said, I have my really thick, fluffy, like winter coat. I mean, we don't get very many 14-degree days here in Texas, so this is like the heaviest coat I have, which I don't really use it very often. Like this is, I think, the first time I've worn it this year. Anyway, Dazzler, she's snuggled up in a blanket on my bed, so she's probably not going to make an appearance at all, which I don't blame her. She's sleeping. Okay, so we'll start with this one. And as I said, these have been coming off, so I'm like, okay. So the one for Saturday, Sunday was a, they always do this for this one. They always do Saturday and Sunday together. And I'm not sure where that piece of paper went, but you saw it in the last video, so it's okay. So for Monday, it's Vision. And for his little bio, what they put down here, he has control over his density. He can be intangible or, increase his density and mass, at will. Can become diamond hard at will. And okay, this one I will admit I didn't know. I know you're shocked, but I don't know everything. I know it kind of maybe seems like I know everything sometimes, but I don't know everything. So the solar cell on Vision's forehead emits beams of infrared and microwave radiation with temperatures ranging from 500 to 30,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I did not know it went that high. Yeah, so that's something new that I've learned from this calendar. So for me, WandaVision was my favorite, is still my favorite MCU Disney Plus show. I just thought it was really cool. It was so different and kind of unexpected and just fun to watch. I know a lot of people say, well, once you've watched it one time, then, you don't, there's no reason to watch it again because you know what's going to happen. The element of surprise is gone, which I get that. I do, but I still really enjoy watching it like over again. It's just a really kind of fun show. I love the transition through the different decades that they did. So we have this one, the Stamp series. And for this, the Stamp 23 is Sergeant Fury. And this is from his Sergeant Fury in the Howling Commandos comic book, which was from 1963. That's when it started. And it ran for like 167 issues, but at, I'm pretty sure it was 120. After 120, it was all just like reprints. Kind of like with the X-Men, it stopped at a point and they just reprinted things until after Giant Size X-Men came out. And then I think 94 was the first issue the first new issue they did after the reprints. So anyway, you can find this stamp in Thor number 235, May 75, Doctor Strange number 1, June 74, Fantastic Four 152, November 74, Tomb of Dracula number 30, March 75, War is Hell number 13, June 75. And you can find this stamp in this issue, which is Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos 67. So and I talked about in because Nick Fury showed up in this one. So I talked about how he transitions from this to, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit. So I won't talk about that again. So the Howling Commandos, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos focuses on his group's exploits during World War II. So there's, Dum Dum Dugan, who was a former circus strongman. And we saw them, of course, in the Captain America movies and in Agent Carter, that series. I don't know if you watched it. If you haven't, you should. It's really good. I really like it. That's one of those shows that I rewatch. Let's see. And then there's Izzy Cohen, who's like a mechanic, and then there's Dino like Manelli. I think he's an Italian actor, like Italian swashbuckling actor who decided to join the army and serve. And then there's a former jockey from Kentucky, and there's Gabe Jones, who actually was African American, but the printers, they didn't know that he was African American or thought it was a mistake. So in the first issue of Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, Gabe Jones is actually Caucasian. So, whoops. And then there's Percival Pinkerton. And anytime I hear Pinkerton, that makes me think of, the Old West train detectives, the Pinkertons. Yeah, that's what I always think of. And Pinkerton was actually, the character was actually based on David Nevin, which I think is kind of cool. It's always cool when that characters are based on like real life people. It's kind of fun to see the comparison and things like that. And he didn't appear though until the 8th issue, because he replaced one of the characters. Now I forget his last name, but they called him Junior. He died in issue 4, and in like 1963, it was kind of pretty unheard of for characters to die and like permanently die. I mean, now, kind of unfortunately in comic books, death is just like a joke. Like, oh, they died. Oh, they'll be back next week. It's like no big deal. But back then, considering it was like one of the first, comic book deaths that was kind of put out there, that was pretty startling in that day and age. Because and nowadays, death means nothing in comic books. That's one of the things that annoyed me about X-Men, is that, oh, you could die, it's no big deal, they'd bring you back. So there's no consequences to your actions, no like wrestling with yourself, like, oh my gosh, if I do this, I could die. It was just like, oh well, if I die, they'll just bring me back, no big deal. So it's almost like there was no consequences of your actions, no, that kind of, it's hard to describe, but that thing that makes us human almost, like we have like a healthy respect for death. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, yeah, so I promised to make this video a little bit short, and it's actually it's shorter than my usual videos, so that's good. So we'll go on to the next video, and hopefully that'll be a little bit shorter too, and then I can turn the heat back on. So I will see you in just a minute or so.